Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. Are your parents with kids with SED okay, and why does it matter? If you can hear me okay, if you can put a little note in the chat so I know we're coming through okay, that'd be awesome. So my name is Jo, and we appreciate you guys joining today. The webinar is going to be for an hour, and it is recorded. And while we won't have time for Q&A at the end, we'd like to hear your questions and feedback. So you're welcome to add them in the Q&A section during the webinar or from the follow-up email that I'm going to send after the webinar. And also just let you know I'm monitoring the chat section. So if you want to communicate with me during the webinar, you are welcome to do that. So we're going to go ahead and get started since we just have an hour. So I wanted to introduce to you Dr. Michelle Williams Alden. She's a licensed professional counselor here in Boise with over 20 years of working with at-risk kids and with the last 8 years working in the homes with families. She's a trainer, a speaker, adoption expert, author of 3 books, and has recently completed her doctorate in the Human Services, Leadership, and Organizational Management. And we'll be sharing some of her research results today and her experience of working in the home with parents with kids with SED. And just so you know, after the webinar, we'll email the slides and a copy of the paper in case you're interested in knowing more about the research. And for those requesting CEU credit, we'll forward your certificate after you fill out the feedback form. So that's it. I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Williams Alden.
So hello, I am happy to be here today. We're just going to jump right in. You know, so I know that a lot of you are counselors, care providers for children with SEDs, and this is kind of the struggle that we sometimes have when we're seeing kids in our offices or kids that are in our care, you know, that we may have these great sessions with kids, we may have some breakthroughs, but then they go home and the next week things are the same, or you know, maybe it's even worse, because a lot of times what I hear is that the parents don't feel like the services are helping, or that providers understand, or that they may even blame you as a provider that counseling isn't working. They may blame the respite workers, CBRS workers. Maybe they don't see the change, and it can just be really frustrating because maybe you're not seeing the change either over time. And so, you know, what if we change our focus and we work from a parent-centered approach? And what if we teach parents to help their kids with SED? And what if we focus on how to stabilize the home environment first? And this was the basis of my research project for my doctorate, was, you know, what happens in the home? And so there was a lot of literature and research that was done on programs that focus on working in the home and what those core competencies were of those programs. And then at the same time, we were running a survey for the parents that had been doing our in-home program. And so those results from that survey were added to the research. And one thing that we started, what I believe with all of my heart, is that if we really want to help children, that we must learn to support the parents. We must really support these parents. And I see that in a lot of ways, in education and in children's mental health as well. So the literature, the research that I did consistently shows that families with children with SED, with severe emotional disturbances, behavior issues, mental health problems, these families are at risk of needing out-of-home placement. And that includes in and out stays at mental health hospitals, juvenile court, educational alternatives. And sometimes this even includes, before all that happens, removing kids from home environments where, maybe there's mental health problems in the entire family. We work with some families that they are learning new parenting skills in order to get their children back into their home. And there's a lot of turmoil, a lot of stress. Most of the families that we work with, this just kind of gives you a kind of a glimpse of what we work with. Most families are already kind of looking for residential treatment or other options. A lot of them feel like they failed. I don't know if that's always the perspective from the counselor side that it's failing, but the parents feel like they've tried all these different things. They often feel very hopeless. They're not sure what the future is going to be like for the child and for their home environment. There's typically at least 3 years of treatment, 3 different diagnoses that the kids have had through different evaluations, at least 3 different providers. Most of the children are on medication. Some of them have histories of 8 to 12 different medication cocktails. I'm not necessarily against the medication. I see where a lot of times it's really holding our kids together. But it's just frustrating for the parents because they're looking for something that's going to help. And so they will also say that the medication is not helping, nothing's working, we're still having these problems. 85% or more of the children are in special education, have an IEP or a 504 for learning or emotional assistance, behavior assistance. 95% have what I call the big 5. Mostly what I see are kids that have been early on diagnosed with ADHD. So part of the parent training that I do, I focus a lot on what I call the ADHD brain, which kind of encompasses a lot of the things that are going on with the kids, the way they're processing things and helping the parents to understand that. 100% of the kids have a history of depression and anxiety, and you'll often, and I see it more, that they have been diagnosed with some kind of anxiety, PTSD, or generalized anxiety, but there's depression that the anxiety may be masking as well, or driving. Anxiety over long periods of time will drive that depression piece. It just looks so different in kids. Sometimes we kind of miss that part of it. So, this is what in-home community-based services are meant to be. They are programs for children and youth who have severe needs. They are services that are used to increase stability and to help to prevent out-of-home placements. And these include specialized treatments. And they're provided by qualified professionals who are certified and credentialed in specialized intensive treatment interventions. This was from Alden Provider Press in 2019. The problem is that we didn't have a lot of that was available to parents. And yet the research really points out that parents have an important, crucial role in reducing symptoms of anxiety, depression, that parents have a critical role in the socialization and regulation, and really in sustainable lifelong and behavioral foundations for the whole family. And so whether we're looking at kids needing treatment or kids needing to be taken out of the home because of safety reasons, I think that there just needs to be more emphasis on really focusing on the parents and their role and how we can help support them. So, the research also showed that moving parents into the position of experts on their child and in their family really does help to nurture the family relationships. That was a big piece that came out of the research. that by doing that, by helping the parents to not just be sort of a part of the treatment or kind of referred to in the treatment, I think that we have a very child-centered focus a lot of times. I mean, the child is our client, but really helping the parents to really help them and to nurture their family relationships, that this improves the problematic patterns that we see in families, and it produces longer lasting benefits in reducing the behavior problems, and it improves the parents' mental health. So there's a win there. And we found that when parents feel that they have little or no control over their caregiving, or their ability to manage their children in their home, then there are more negative interactions, and that these parents tend to be less emotionally available, and they're less able to find positives in their child and in their home. So a lot of times this is kind of where parents are at when they come to our parent training. I have a parent training I do every month, and a lot of times the parents are at this place where they just feel really hopeless, and they're scared about what it's going to be like if things continue to get worse. We get a lot of parents that things are already pretty bad. The kids are already 16, 17, but sometimes with the parents that even have younger kids, it's that fear of, wow, if it's this bad now, what's it going to be like when they become teenagers, or how am I going to handle this? And just not being able to find a lot of options. And so one of the things that we really work on is really helping the parents to feel that they can establish that safety in their home, and that we kind of come up with a crisis plan, but we also are letting them know that as a parents, like, that is one of their primary roles, is to create safety in the home. And this is really difficult when you've had kids that have been violent and aggressive, and sometimes these kids are sent back home even after they have battery charges against a parent or a sibling. And so the parents, everybody might be struggling with some PTSD. So I just work with them on that there is hope and there are things that we can do, and we kind of come up with that plan. And then really helping the parents to have that confidence and that they can do, because when your kids have these extreme behaviors and problems, you feel out of control also, or you feel blamed a lot of times as a parent. It's like it's your fault. It kind of becomes an us and them type of thing. And so we want to really make sure that we're not doing that with our parents when we're working with their kids, that we're supporting them, that we understand it's difficult, and we're helping them to use some of the tools that may be working in the office, or that we feel like the kids, if they could just use these tools in these different environments, that it would really help them to be able to use those tools at home. And with most kids with SED, what I found is that they don't carry this from one environment to the other. So this is a difficulty with if things are working at school, then it may not be working at home, or if things are working at home that aren't working at school, or if things that are happening that you're working on in the office are not getting transferred into what's happening at the home. So that's a big reason why I believe that providers need to be in the home, supporting the parents and teaching those parenting skills as things are happening. And I have some kids, very few actually, that with the amount of hours that we're in the home, that will hold it together while we're there, but they for sure can hold it together for an hour or two, and then the parents are still kind of left with not really knowing what to do. So having providers in the home, supporting parents, teaching those parenting skills as they're happening, helping them work through a meltdown, or helping them control that chaos, and being there to help them do that, not just saying, it'd be really good if you had some structure or a schedule. There's a lot of families that it's it's been too dysfunctional to just give them that and not be able to be there and kind of hand over hand help them do that. We found that when parents are taught the right skills and they're given the opportunities in those moments to implement the skills with that level of support, then the parents are able to lower that level of violence, chaos, and increase the social language and learning and their social learning and language skills, which is the kind of the back end of the program, where we work a little bit on it through the program, but mostly we're working with the parents, kind of their language skills. And then as we have the parents and how they're able to interact and change the interactions with their kids to a more positive interaction, then we can also work with the kids on some of their social relational skills. And the goal is really for the whole family to become more interrelational and create more interdependence rather than everybody kind of fighting for their own sense of control and structure. So, you know, and again, that research just really is amazing, and how that just backs up that any program that is helping kids with SED really does need to have a major component of it focusing on the parents and moving those parents into the position of experts on their child and in their family, and really encouraging, nurturing those family relationships. It's not okay if these kids can get along with another adult, or you know, another their friends at school, they're not having these problems, which, you know, is a little bit not true, because most of the kids I work with are having a lot of problems at school too with their peers. They're having a lot of problems in all of their relationships because the way they kind of are processing everything. But we really want the parents to be able to guide them through and help them through their meltdowns or their mood disruptions, and their super strong feelings, and we can just be a guide in that, so that they have that ability to do that across a lot of different contexts. So as the kids mature and grow, or as they hit different developmental milestones, sometimes parents will see an increase in behavior, or maybe if it's just the time of year, you know, it starts to be the Christmas season, or you know, something like that where the kids are typically having more meltdowns, and now they've done this program, and now they have these tools to be able to make those changes as needed and adjust. And it's been really great to hear from parents that are saying, wow, this is the first Christmas where we didn't think that we might have to send Sally to the hospital to wait it out because things were so bad. So, you know, there's this, it's just kind of helps the parents in establishing just that they can have results over this period of time. And as you can imagine, I mean, that does really help their mental health as well, because their discouragement has a huge effect on the family. So when we talk about in-home community-based services, this is also from the research of what these kind of programs need to have. The programs need to have evaluation of practices to better performance. This is critical. I really feel like it's an ongoing process. We should be determining if what we're doing is working, but also our perspective on that is to really have the parents also being seen if they feel like it's working. It's you know, is it helping them? And I think that during the process, it's really helpful to know that, so that we can make adjustments. If we have a parent that is feeling a higher level of safety, but they're still experiencing a child still talking back and maybe being verbally aggressive, then we can address that while we're in the home doing the program, and give them that support that's needed. There also needs to be an increased collaboration of learning that I really think through an action research approach is really been positive. I was excited that the doctorate project that I did was an action research, because that's kind of where we get to question what we're doing, like what's working, what's not working, how can we make changes, not just in the moment with that family, but in whatever program and practices are being used. And so I love that cycle of action research, where it's like we have that research behind what we're doing, but then we also get to make changes as we're going. So we ran the program as it was meant to be run, and we're gathering that data throughout that process, and then hopefully, taking that, making changes, and then running those surveys and learning more and making those changes. So, and then, the family engagement piece of it, when we have services that really focus on the child and take the child out of the home. I understand that parents desperately need the break and they need that time. So I'm not trying to take away from any of that, but it's just so important to also be really helping the child in that family environment for things to get better. And this is where it really is important to work with your parents on that, because I know that there's a lot of parents that don't want to be involved in the therapy. They want that 45 minutes, or they want that, couple hours that the CBRS worker is there to, get a break. And for sure with respite, it's the same thing. But we have to really consider, are we really helping if we just bring this child back into the home and we haven't been able to really help the parents to understand, like, here's what we're working on, and here's how we can help them to use this skill in the home environment. So it takes some working with the parents, because you have parents at all different levels. I have some parents that really want the help, really want to see the changes. They have the basic parenting skills to make those changes and to do that. But then you have other parents, when you say that you're going to, that the parent is going to be the one that helps this child to regulate, and they're going to do it through co-regulating, you have to help this parent learn how to get regulated and to get calm, and before they can do that. So, there's a lot of work to be done in the family. And I think that it's, it was amazing to me, actually, to see, with this belief that I had, to find so much supporting research that backed how important the family engagement was. Even if kids are in residential, even if that is where they need to go for safety reasons and to kind of gather some skills for themselves, the parent component of that is what I always look at. And when I'm helping parents see if that's what they're going to need to do and what treatment centers they're looking at, I really lean hard towards the ones that are saying that they have family sessions and that they are helping the parents throughout those sessions while the child is there, and then how that child kind of re-enters back into the family. I actually really like it when kids have been away from home, and then we can come in and help the parents to create this environment for the kids, that when they come home, things are different. We're doing things differently. Because of the way in-home community-based services are set up for Idaho, there is they strongly would like us to use a program like the family program before kids go into treatment, and that's fine. Sometimes we don't have to use residential treatment because of being able to learn these parenting skills ahead of time. But there is also a great benefit with kids that have had to go to treatment, go to detention, go to the hospital, to come back and then be like, okay, things are going to be different. But it's just really focusing either way on helping the parents to learn those skills. So telling a child their coping skills, and kids being able to learn coping skills in whatever treatment they're in is great. How they use that in their home how any of us use our coping skills in our home when we get highly escalated or stressed out is always something to consider. But how we help the parents to help the kids to work through those is really powerful. The other thing that was a common core thing that the programs that I studied had was ongoing training and support for the providers. So whatever providers are working with the family program, we give a lot of training and support. We have a lot of training videos. We do a lot of staffing on that with the people that are under Healthy Foundations, but also the kind of that ongoing training and support is really needed for the parents also. Again, the parent surveys, the evaluations that are those are actually supposed to be part of a program design. And those are found in these other programs. And then just really the intensive hours. And I've been so grateful actually that that we run this program and that Idaho Medicaid, that Optum pays for us to do this, because they allow us intensive hours and interventions to help with the family functioning. So it's not just an hour a week of family therapy. It's a lot more encompassing than that. It's especially at the beginning, we are there, you know, our goal is to be there about 30 to 40 hours in that first month to really help the family and the parents to start to make those changes. It's just very hard to change your parenting without help. Some people can do it, but maybe they can read a parenting book or go to a parent seminar or go to our parent training, and they can take some of those skills. But when things get really difficult, it really takes that kind of level of somebody almost whispering in your ear. Sometimes it involves me texting across the room on what the parents can say or do, you know, whether it's take a step back or let's redirect, because you're interrupting sometimes behavior patterns in families that have been there for generations. And so it takes that kind of intention to do that. So, you know, what, just kind of summarize what we've talked about so far at this point is that what we do in helping kids, we must consider how we are also supporting the parents, that no matter what our involvement is with these kids, at some point they go home, and what is happening with the parents and the kids when they come home. What happens with these kids when they spend an afternoon with their CBRS workers and then come home? Is there a good connection? Is there a reconnection when they come back into the home? What is happening? Because these kids that have these struggles, they have them all the time, and the parents are the ones that are going to get the opportunities, I'll say, to deal with those the most. And so helping them, just realizing like where are the parents in this, and if we're supporting the parents, and what else can we do to support the parents more. So this, you know, this really comes from a belief that change happens in the family, and that we need to help parents to create safety and build confidence, and even to give them the hope. You know, when your kid is the kid that's in trouble everywhere they go, even just hearing from somebody that's been working with your child that they're a great kid, and that you see so much potential in them, can really be like a cup of cold water in a pretty dry place. So just, you know, keeping in mind, not that we're trying to tell the parents that they're, you know, everything is fine, but just being able to address the issues and the problems with the parents in these other ways. So one way that we do that, one program that we have in Idaho that is Healthy Foundation's family program. And it really is unique in that it is a parent-based program that is designed to help parents to feel confident in using these new parenting skills. And it supports the parents in bringing that safety and kind of establishing that safety. It encourages, supports parents in giving them the hope and healthy well-being in their family while things are happening. So like in-home community-based programs are, it is critical in the position of the continuum of care. And we really feel like we are a bridge, also between the community care, the care that's happening in the community, and if the kids are going to need more institutional type care. And again, it's based on this assumption that the child and family functioning are linked, to the environment, but also in kind of these behavior patterns, and that the best place to kind of interrupt those and make those changes are right there in the family. And like I said before, sometimes it really shifts from expecting the child to make the changes to helping the parents to understand that they have to make changes. We teach them in the parenting class that if they want to change the behaviors in their child, they're going to have to change the interactions. And I go through a lot of the way their brain is functioning with like what I call the ADHD brain, and how it's important that to understand how they're seeing things and how the child is functioning. And I have a lot of parents, they'll say, wow, like that's exactly how my brain is working too. So we're building something here in the parents as well. It's realizing that caregivers play a critical role in the well-being, in the emotional understanding and the regulation and social learning. One thing that Bruce Perry said, it went over and over in his new book, What Happened to You. He just talks over and over about this critical component of regulation, and that you have to have regulation before you can have connection, and you have to have regulation and connection before you can have understanding and explanations and reasoning. And I really appreciate that, because that is a big piece of what we teach parents. So many of parents, me included as a parent, we come at it, from the wanting the kids to understand. Do you understand what you did? Do you understand how that made me feel? Do you understand how that made this person feel? And we're, that's where we get into a lot of, explaining and lecturing and trying to, talk it into the children. But if they're dysregulated, which most of the kids that I work with kind of operate on a higher level of escalation, even just in their day-to-day, especially if there's been trauma, then we know that their brain is not calm. They're not calm children. And so they're not getting a lot of what we're trying to teach. And so it's just helping parents to first help their children to regulate and get calm, and then working on that connection. And sometimes those can go hand in hand, because through the co-regulation piece of it, connection is built. And also through setting the boundaries and allowing the parent to be the parent, and then the child to be the child, also builds connection. And I've seen kids, it's amazing how much they calm down just somebody being in charge at home. It doesn't feel good as a child, any age, to know that basically you're kind of running the household, and that everybody's either walking on eggshells or in constant conflict with you. And on top of it, parents reach this place where they're kind of throwing up their hands and they're saying, I don't know what to do with you. That's a very scary place for a kid to be, that nobody knows what to do with them, that their only hope is that they are going to, be somewhere else outside of the home that can maybe be strong enough to keep them safe. There's a lot of chaos and anxiety that decreases just in helping the parents to kind of set up some structure and boundaries. So it's really recognizing that these caregivers play a really critical role in that well-being and in that learning environment. The family program is grounded in the family systems approach. And so what we see when we have one child that is the reason why we do the program, we really work with all of the kids in the family and the whole family. And a lot of times you'll see that as one child starts to get better or starts to do things a little differently, you'll have another child that starts, oh, I didn't even know they had these problems or that they were processing things in this way. And I really love working with the whole family because a lot of times, everybody in the family kind of knows who the bad kid is, right? And so they're kind of, geared to what everybody's role is in that. And a lot of times parents will think that maybe the younger kids are just learning this behavior from the other kids. And we kind of just level the playing field a little bit. And it's like, it doesn't matter where they learned it. It's that we're going to change it. And then we want our family to be stronger and healthier. And we want our relationships to be better. And again, it really focuses on parent and child regulation and teaching that. There's a high level of supervision and structure and routine that are taught. This is in actually it should be anyway in all of the common core competencies of a in-home community-based program. And then we teach the parents how to do that. So they are the ones actually providing that level of supervision. They're the ones providing that structure and routine. And again, for some parents, that's the hardest part of it. But we work with them on that. And that's where it kind of is individualized to each family as well. What structure looks like to one family may be completely different than what it looks like to another family, but at least there's some scaffolding there and the kids aren't just, doing whatever they want, feeling like everybody's kind of out of control. The parents are taught how to manage non-compliance with everyday tasks. And that's a big part of why we have a schedule and kind of teach the parents how to do that. I work with a lot of families that have kids with autism. So there's a lot of things that we use that is really functional behavior support and kind of pairing preferred or non-preferred activities with preferred activities and getting more compliance instead of sending kids to go do your chores, go make your bed. We have kind of a family approach around that, and we're all doing this together. And it's just amazing to see the compliance start to increase. Not that they don't have those times when they just look at the parents and say, no, I'm not going to do it, but we help the parents to work through that, to redirect and to move through those tasks. The parents are taught how to respond to the problems while they're managing the disorders. Because what really hit me, especially in the last couple of years, doing this program, only doing the program rather than kind of doing both, was really some of these things that are going on with these kids. Like we're not curing them. We're helping the parents to learn how to help the kids through and manage their disorders, because these kids need to be able to do that. They need to be able to recognize in themselves when they're escalating or when they need to take a break. And so by first helping the parents be able to see it and then helping the kids be able to see it is just amazing when all those pieces kind of come together. So we're really teaching the parents to be able to guide their child and to help their child to regulate their own emotions and uphold the safety through that structure and through boundaries, through co-regulation and relational skills. It's really powerful, sometimes the littlest things, but when I start to see kids be able to say, I'm getting upset or I'm frustrated, I need to take a break. Like, it's just amazing when you go, from this place where the kid was probably highly frustrated a lot of times, but it was hard to get through that when they're, throwing things or breaking things or, just kind of exploding with all of those feelings. And so to be able to recognize it before it starts to happen and then be able to have an appropriate thing to do with it. instead of just feeling like they're, it was wrong what happened. The findings from the literature in the parent survey is that what parents are saying is that the amount of time we spend in the home is one of the most positive things. And most of them say that one of the weaknesses is that it is only a 90-day program, and that we're training and supporting the parents, and that this is not only good practice, but it lends itself to better outcomes and more and longer lasting results. So we don't have those longer lasting results yet, but we're gathering that information, and I'm sure that over the years we'll keep adding to that as well. We just haven't been doing it long enough yet. So again, this is a change to really not just seeing the parents or the children as the problem, the family not the problem, the child is not the problem is the problem, and accepting that professionals and maybe more and more services are not the answer, taking the child away more, although the parents may be asking for that. Please, can you take them more hours? But really, changing to the parent as the expert model of care and helping the parents to be able to create a better environment, teaching those parents to safely manage their child's behaviors. And really, through the different challenges of life, like we've already talked about, that we are going to step away at some point. And so then what happens? And whether it's at that point where we take them home after an afternoon or after an hour in our office, or whether it's, a year down the road or 3 years down the road, at what point do the parents have it to be able to take over and guide their children? And this is something that I also talk to parents about, is that your kids are going to be in your family a lot longer as adults than they are as children, and we focus so much on kind of getting the kids through childhood, which is not a bad goal. We want to definitely get them through childhood. We want them to be functioning, but how they function in their families, it really does matter. And it's one of the reasons why I work with the older kids as well, because even though some of those things may seem like they're really set and then we're not going to make those changes, and that a lot of times with the older kids, sometimes we do have to look for other alternatives outside the home, even after the program, but the parents have something that they can use and know how to provide the structure and the boundaries for when the child comes home, because they always come back and they're going to be there. And so it's helping the parents to not just continue that cycle of how things are managed, and being able to really help their kids through these different challenges of life. I can tell you that it has been extremely rewarding for me, not only as a counselor, to see families progress in this way, but even in my own family, to see my children now parenting their children with this kind of intention and level of parenting skills. It's just really amazing. And it looks different when it's your bio kids that you're starting off from the start this way, but just the way that they think about the behaviors that their children have and how they deal with those and how they help them through it is it's just very rewarding to watch those changes. These are changes that can happen for generations. I've had kids that have told me after the program that they're going to do the family program with their kids, or that they learned how to parent. They know how they're going to be a parent, and that's just huge, to change those family patterns. Sometimes that's the hope that we have when we don't see everything happen the way we want it to happen in that particular family at that moment. But it's knowing that we're also planting some seeds and building some things into the future. And I think that really comes from that realization that the family is the curative agent for change. And I think also that, sometimes I think really realizing that parents can learn the skills that are needed, like really believing that even with your most difficult families, with your parents that seem to be, for lack of a better term, maybe more low functioning on the parenting themselves, that ability, I think, as a counselor or as, you know, a provider for this program, to be able to just come in and work on some basic parenting, just the basic ways that we would that we talk to each other, or that we would say something or direct a child. Then you don't have to be mean, that you can, you know, be polite, and that, you know, without the shame and the guilt and all of that. You know, it's something that a lot of times these parents need to know that they can do it. And so I think that I guess I come at it from the belief that things can always get better. It can always get better. And one of the things that we teach the families, teach the kids, is that it's never too late to turn it around. And I think that those two things are probably a big reason for the hope that we instill into the parents, you know, that you are the curative agent for change, and that you can make things better. It can get better. And I think parents need to hear that, especially when you're looking at lifelong diagnosis of, you know, these kids are always going to have this struggle, or their brain is going to always kind of be functioning this way. Okay, so then how do we help the parents through those different developmental milestones and challenges, rather than just, you know, trying to survive. And then just supporting the parents in their role and offering that guidance. Like it really is a change that I think needs to happen on a lot of different levels in our society. I think we've kind of, and, you know, and I know I'm a little bit tainted because I work with families that are really struggling a lot, but I see that most of them, at whatever level of parenting skills they come in with, whatever social economic status, that they've kind of a lot of times maybe handed over some of their power or their place or their role to the school or to mental health services. It's like they don't know anymore. It's whatever somebody else says. And I think just helping them to know, like you do know, like you are the best parent for this child, and we can help you to make it better. That's just, I think, really important for our parents and for our kids. So what does that mean, you know, for you? Like what, you know, what does this mean for you guys? You know, so I think that there's just some things that we're, you know, asking you to consider, you know, and one of them is to really consider how you see yourself as a professional in light of the parents and their role and their place in their families. As can we shift that from us as the professionals being the experts to the parents being the experts? Because our goal is that we can help parents to kind of be the heroes in their family, and so we become the guides. We're not the heroes. We're not the ones coming in and saving the day, or, you know, saving their child or saving their family. We're helping them to learn how to then be the guide so that their kids can go on and be the central in their stories and have that foundation. So it's, you know, and I think that really does take a shift in our mindset, and just how we see our role in these kids' lives, whatever that is, you know, whether it's as their counselor or their whatever provider we are, case managers, you know, all of it. Like how do we see kids, and are we seeing them in light of the family and the family context, or do we just see them as kind of their individuals? And I think that that's one of the beautiful things about looking at the family, is that it isn't just for the moment. It isn't just for child. It isn't just till you're 18. It's like, no, like this is your family. I think kids, you know, need to have that solid base. They may choose to go a different way and go out of the family as soon as possible, But when they think back and know what their family's about, I think that's critical to their mental health too. It also, some things that you can do, you can refer families to our monthly training. I do a training at least once a month, a parent training. It's an 8-hour training. We break it into two sessions. So we do a 4-hour session, sometimes 2 evenings or an evening and a Saturday morning. And it's all on Zoom. So we've had parents from anybody from all over Idaho, anywhere they can come to this training. They get some basic, some parenting skills to kind of help with the problems that they're having. But we also kind of I assess during that training, what their level of need is. And if there's, violence, aggression, if they're looking at residential treatment, if they, and just their willingness, if they really want the help, then they can move into the family program, which is a 90-day program that is funded through Medicaid. We do have private pay options as well. So we really appreciate you keeping in mind for your parents and families that you're already working with, that they can do this 90-day program, and it doesn't take away from what you're doing. We assess at the end of the program what the needs are and what services the kids will continue to need, and how to best help the parents, once those things are, when things are better, like, okay, let's go back now and work on some of this in counseling, or let's get some respite in place here, because parents are usually really tired after we do all this intensive work and they need a break. And so you referring your families to us is not that we then take your clients and keep them. You can have them back. We just hopefully have given you, some more help and being able to make better progress in other areas. Also for you to really think about, what ways you support your parents of children with SED, and really how you in your agency or in your work can really show parents their value in this system of care, and that they're not just the ones setting up all these appointments and filling out all these forms, and or the problem, or the ones that have the hard kids, or I don't even like to use the term bad kids, because I don't like that, but I know a lot of parents feel like they have bad kids. And what's interesting is I have a lot of kids that will ask me, when we first start the program, if they're a bad family. Are we a bad family? Is this the worst family that you've ever worked with? And most of the time, not really, especially the kids that ask that. But I don't term it like that. There's difficulties, there's things that are hard, there's challenges, there's some things that are harder than others to work around, and there's sometimes we have to take a step back and be more basic in our approach, and there's sometimes we're able to kind of roll up our sleeves and get a lot more done, and it just depends on how everybody's functioning at the time. And then just consider in your own work that you do, are you willing to see kids outside of your office in the different contexts? Are you interested in working with families in a new way? Because we're always, I love to talk to other providers, other professionals that really, if there's things that really resonate with you on this, like, let's talk, let's see what we can do, because I'm really committed to doing what I can to not only see these changes happen and how we view the parents in light of the kids and the kids in light of the parents, but also to really have an impact with this family program throughout Idaho. So if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you have interest and want to know more, please don't hesitate to contact us, because that's where we're at too. We're important. That's important to us. So again, our focus is really helping parents with challenging kids to build a bridge greater safety, hope, and confidence in their parenting, and to really, bring that change about from being more parent-based and looking at what's going on with our parents, with our kids that have these challenges. So, Joe, did you want to add anything at that?
I'm sure there's a couple questions we could address. The first one is somebody was asking if we had resources in Canyon County, and we do actually serve Canyon County from our home office here in Boise, so that's not a problem. That's also, we do the in-home program there. Michelle, I'm going to give you two options since we only have a couple minutes left, which one you want to talk about here. One was asking about the success rate of the program, and the person had noted the Family First program, and I thought it would be a good time maybe just to say again, remind people that we have changed the name. So it's now called the Healthy Foundations Family Program, and it was formerly known as the Family First program. Okay, so the other question was, it said I have families that will not attend free optional parenting classes or apply for additional services because they don't believe they need it or it's going to work. Do you have suggestions or tips to obtain buy-in to get families into these programs? They tend to view it as a personal attack on their parenting skills.
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's one of the reasons why I do the parent training. It kind of adds so even though we have other providers that do the family program, all of the parents come through the training first. So there's a couple of, and a lot of that was because you kind of do have to know how to present it in a way that the parents don't feel, I never want them to feel attacked. I want them to have that hope and be encouraged. So even if parents come into the training maybe skeptical or discouraged or whatever, I haven't had any leave that training not feeling like, oh, we have some answers or we have some things that will help. So it is really key if you have families that like, gosh, they really need this program, but they don't want to come to a training. So sometimes it can work that way as well. Like you have a family that really wants the program, because the parents they kind of learn in the training more about the parent piece of it and why that's so important, but they may be looking for a program that's offered that's to kind of to send their child to, but they don't necessarily want to send them away. And also it can be hard to get residential treatment, so a lot of times we'll do this program while parents may be exploring whether they're going to need to do residential treatment or trying to get that put together. So in order to have the program, they have to come to the training. So that's one way that we've kind of closed that loop. They can't have one without the other. But just lots of encouragement that things can always get better, and that the training is not, it's geared to just giving them some tools to use, like maybe this will help, maybe it won't. I kind of take that approach, but it's not that great right now. So if it could get a little bit better, if it could get 80% better, what would that feel like? So some of that language, which kind of ties into that other question about the success. And so this is as far as our surveys, when it was a very small sample size because it was actual research and it was set up during a specific time frame. But what we found is that on some of the key areas that are important to us, like creating safety and confidence and hope, that most of the parents, I think all of the parents actually, all of the parents that filled out the survey said that the confidence, the hope, and the safety were all greater than 80% or 80% better from doing the program or during the program. Some of the families were still in the program as they were doing it. And those were really key. That was really important to me because that's a key thing for me I want, that's a key objective of the program. So in that area, so there was sometimes a lower score, like if the kid's behavior was, if the parents felt the behavior is better, or well, they're still talking back, but there's not, the violence level was always 80% or greater than 80% better, improved. Not getting better at violence, sorry, getting lower by violence and aggression. And so the overall success of it, sometimes that really varies on what your goals and objectives are in each family. We've had families where we've had to end the program early, and we've had families that have ended the program early, and we have some families that don't fill out surveys, and we have some families that do. So, but those are kind of our numbers on the specifics that we're really trying to implement. And that's what we really work hard as providers to make sure, like we're encouraging the parents, we're helping them to see, that things, where things are. Other than that, it kind of is individual, because with some families, we may just get to basics. So we may not get to the social language piece of helping the kids to be, to work with other kids better, or, we may have some ongoing issues helping the parents with the, how the kids are managing at school and some things like that. But in those core areas, I feel like, and that's the real benefit of doing a survey and kind of that action research approach, is because after the first 30 days of the program, we're able to assess if we're kind of hitting those markers with the parents. And if we're not, like, then we as providers can be more tuned into, like, okay, what can we do to make it better?
So it looks like we are out of time. And so just a reminder to everyone, first of all, thanks for everyone who tuned in today. Appreciate your time. And look for my follow-up email, which has some more information and a survey that we'd love for you to fill out as well. But again, if there's anything that we can do to help you and help your parents with kids that have SED, please be sure to just get in contact with us in any way. Thank you.
All right, thank you.